History is written by the victors, but what if some of the most pivotal victories were never fought on a battlefield? What if they were sealed in the dead of night with a flash of a hidden blade, a poisoned drink, or the echo of a single precise shot? These silent acts of violence have shaped nations, toppled rulers, and altered the course of entire empires, often without a single name being recorded. For centuries, Britain's shadow assassins have operated in the dark, eliminating threats and altering history with ruthless efficiency. They weren't just spies or soldiers, they were ghosts, faceless figures who moved in the shadows, executing plans that would change the world forever. Whether driven by political motives, national security, or vengeance, these killers played a crucial role in shifting the tides of power. Though their names may never be known, their impact remains undeniable, echoing through history in ways that still resonate today. Our story begins in the 16th century. Queen Elizabeth I reigned over a kingdom besieged by danger from all sides. The Protestant monarch found herself in a constant battle to protect her throne from Catholic plots, foreign assassins, and traitorous whispers. The very survival of her reign hung by a thread as conspiracies brewed and the ever-present threat of assassination loomed over her court. To combat this shadow war, Elizabeth turned to one of her most trusted and most feared advisors, Sir Francis Walsingham. Walsingham, a man of relentless ambition and intellect, crafted one of the first truly modern intelligence networks in history. His spy ring was a network of shadow operatives, invisible to all but the most powerful, operating in the shadows of the English court. They were not simply information gatherers, they were the kingdom's unseen executioners. Poisoned letters, quiet blade work in the dead of night, and accidents staged to perfection. These were the tools of Walsingham's deadly trade. Perhaps the most infamous of his operations was the downfall of Mary, Queen of Scots. A Catholic heir to the throne with claims to the crown, Mary was seen as a constant threat to Elizabeth's rule. Walsingham's spies discovered her involvement in the Babington plot to assassinate the Queen. The operatives who carried out her capture and eventual execution were unseen, but their work was deliberate and devastating. Mary's fate was sealed not by the sword or open battle, but by Walsingham's quiet assassins, proving that the true power in England lay not in the hands of monarchs, but in the deadly precision of those who moved unseen through the shadows. By the 19th century, Britain's empire was a vast, sprawling network of colonies, its reach stretching across continents. But with great power came great opposition. Revolutionary movements grew in India, Ireland, and across Europe. Anarchists plotted assassinations, and nationalist uprisings threatened the very foundations of British rule. The empire found itself facing enemies both foreign and domestic, and these shadowy adversaries were not easily defeated by conventional means. In response to these growing threats, Britain needed a new kind of force, one that operated in the darkness, unnoticed and unstoppable. Enter William Melville, the enigmatic head of the newly formed Special Branch. A man of few words, Melville was a master of covert operations, and he quickly became Britain's most feared enforcer in the battle against internal dissent. His methods were ruthless, his operations shrouded in secrecy. It was whispered that Melville's reach extended far beyond mere surveillance. He didn't just track revolutionaries, he made them disappear without a trace. Under his command, Special Branch operated with chilling efficiency. Suspected radicals, subversive elements, and those who threatened the stability of the empire were quietly removed from the equation. Whether it was through discreet imprisonments, staged accidents, or worse, Melville's agents moved with deadly purpose, ensuring that Britain's enemies never had a chance to strike. These shadow assassins worked in the unseen corners of Victorian society, keeping the empire safe by eliminating its most dangerous foes before they could act. But it was during World War II that Britain's shadow assassins reached their peak. The flames of World War II raged across Europe, and Britain found itself in a battle for survival against the might of Nazi Germany. Winston Churchill, aware that conventional warfare would not be enough to secure victory, made a bold decision. He knew that to defeat Hitler, Britain needed to fight not only on the front lines but from within the heart of occupied Europe itself. To this end, he formed one of the most secretive and lethal forces in history, the Special Operations Executive, or SOE. Their mission was simple, yet audacious. Set Europe ablaze. These men and women, many of them ordinary citizens who had never held a weapon before the war, became extraordinary agents in the fight against tyranny. Trained in the deadliest arts of sabotage, espionage, and assassination, they were sent behind enemy lines to carry out operations so secretive and dangerous that their names were often lost to history. Their task was to infiltrate occupied territories, sabotage Nazi infrastructure, and eliminate key figures without leaving a trace. One such agent was Violette Szabo, a young British woman whose courage, in the face of Nazi brutality, made her a legend. A daring undercover operative, Szabo parachuted into Nazi-occupied France, where she worked with resistance forces to sabotage German supply lines and assassinate high-ranking officers. But it was her capture and subsequent torture by the Gestapo that cemented her place in history. Refusing to break, she became an enduring symbol of British resilience and bravery. Her ultimate sacrifice, execution by the Nazis, was not in vain. Szabo's actions inspired countless others to join the fight, and her legacy would echo through the resistance movements that helped bring down the Nazi regime. These shadow warriors, operating in the night, were among the unsung heroes of the war, whose silent strikes helped shift the balance of power and, ultimately, helped bring about the defeat of one of the most dangerous regimes the world has ever known. As the world plunged into the tense, ideological conflict of the Cold War, Britain's shadowy operatives found themselves facing a new kind of enemy. The battle was no longer fought on the open battlefields, but in the hidden corners of the world, where espionage, betrayal, and assassination had become the weapons of choice. The targets were no longer high-ranking military officers or monarchs, but Soviet agents, defectors, and double-crossing spies, those who could leak dangerous state secrets or bring down the delicate balance of power. In this deadly game of chess, MI6, Britain's secret intelligence service, found itself locked in a covert war with the KGB. Both sides played with lethal precision, striking against each other's agents and enemies with ruthless efficiency. But MI6's tactics were not limited to mere surveillance and counterintelligence. They had perfected the art of eliminating those who posed the greatest threat to the state. Suspected traitors, defectors, and those who might expose Britain's darkest secrets were swiftly silenced. One of the most chilling and infamous cases of this silent war occurred in 1978 in the heart of London. Georgy Markov, a Bulgarian dissident and vocal critic of his home country's communist regime, was poisoned in broad daylight in a manner so precise it seemed almost surgical. Markov had been walking near Waterloo Bridge when an assailant, posing as a passerby, jabbed him with an umbrella. The needle concealed in the umbrella delivered a fatal dose of ricin, a deadly poison so potent that just a minute amount could kill. Markov, who initially felt a sting in his leg, would soon begin to experience severe symptoms. Despite his best efforts to survive, he succumbed to the poison, his death a chilling reminder of the invisible war waged between East and West. The Markov assassination became a symbol of the Cold War's dark side, an era when the line between life and death was drawn not on battlefields, but in the shadows, where lethal precision could strike from anywhere at any time. It was a modern execution, carried out with ancient methods, where the tools of assassination were refined and deadly, and the cost of betrayal was death, often in silence. As we move into the modern age, we often tell ourselves that the brutal tactics of assassination and covert killings belong to a bygone era, consigned to the pages of history. But the truth is far more chilling. Intelligence agencies, no matter how advanced their technologies and methodologies may become, never truly retire their oldest, most effective tools. Assassinations, carefully planned and ruthlessly executed, are still very much in use today. Whether they're executed through drones, sniper fire, or covert operations, these silent eliminations continue to shape global politics, just as they always have. In the shadows of geopolitics, the game remains the same. Governments and intelligence agencies across the globe use assassins to eliminate perceived threats, whether they're rogue leaders, defectors, or individuals whose actions may disrupt national security. The tools may have evolved: cyber assassinations, targeted strikes, and covert poisoning, but the essence remains unchanged. When diplomacy fails, the knife still strikes from the dark. And what about Britain's role in this ongoing legacy? For centuries, Britain's shadow assassins have shaped the course of history, often without a single name or face to attach to their deeds. From the covert killers of the Elizabethan era to the highly trained agents of MI6 and the SOE, Britain's spies and operatives have always been a quiet force behind the scenes, carrying out operations that determine the fates of nations. Perhaps, in today's world of surveillance states and global intelligence networks, these assassins are no longer just shadows in the night. They may walk among us, their actions invisible, their methods more sophisticated, but their mission is the same: to shape history from the unseen corners, to silence those who threaten the status quo. Britain's shadow assassins may have changed the world before, and it's entirely possible they still do, hidden in plain sight, operating in ways we may never fully understand. The most dangerous assassins are often the ones who leave no trace. The best killers are the ones history never remembers, whose names are lost in the darkness, whose actions echo only in the hearts of those who wielded them. They remain invisible, their motives shrouded in secrecy, their legacy written in the shadows. What do you think? Are covert assassins still operating today, shaping the course of history from the shadows?